Hi everyone, welcome back to the REWI channel, Real Women Investors. Today, we're going to be talking about rent to own. What do you need to know about it? So, have you heard of this option? It's definitely a potential way to purchase property. If you're itching to buy a home but can't quite afford it yet, or you have less than stellar credit in order to secure a loan at the moment, some sellers will offer a rent-to-own agreement. In this type of deal, you agree to rent the home for a specific amount of time. Could be several months to several years before you become the owner of the property. The plus side of rent-to-own is it allows you to divert the time it takes to save for a down payment and get into a house faster. Also, it means you don't have to qualify for a mortgage right away. But just like upsides, there are downsides too. The downside of rent to own is that it makes your rent more expensive because some of your monthly payment will go towards your future home ownership. But if you decide later that you don't want the house or something breaks your contract, all of those extra payments will be lost. In addition, you may be required to handle the repairs and maintenance yourself while you're renting this property. This option could also leave you in a very vulnerable place financially. So let's break this type of real estate down a little bit more. Let's first discuss a little bit more about the kind of contract or agreement that you would be part of. Rent-to-own contracts actually mimic car lease agreements. They allow buyers without the current financial resources to secure future purchases with little money down. In rent-to-own agreements, sellers charge renters monthly payments just like you would if you were renting, but that include both a regular rent and an additional charge for down payment money that you will accrue. There are two potential kinds of contracts when it comes to this option for potential future home ownership. There are lease option contracts, which give you the right to buy the home when the lease expires, while the other, which is called a lease purchase contract, requires you to buy it. Make sure before you sign, you know which contract type and be certain that it's what you are looking to get involved in. To have the option to buy without the obligation to buy, it needs to be lease option contract. Rent-to-own contracts should specify when and how the home's purchase price is determined. Sometimes it's best to lock in your price at signing. You never know how much a house can appreciate in value, so it makes sense sometimes to kind of be ahead of a potential upswing in the market. One more thing about these agreements typically range from 1 to 5 years. Now let's discuss what you might pay in this kind of agreement. Most likely, the rent you'll pay, like I discussed before, will be higher than the going rate for the area to make up for the rent credit you'll receive towards your down payment. What might that extra amount look like? To put this into perspective, you'll be paying excess fees until you've likely reached the 20% of the sale price, or another agreed upon percentage, at which point a buyer can typically apply for their own mortgage. But be sure you know ahead of time what you're getting for paying the premium rental price. What do I mean by that? You want to have a clear understanding of how much will go towards rent and how much will go towards your down payment on a monthly basis. Make sure this is spelled out in your contract so that there are no misunderstandings down the road. Maintenance is another big ticket item that you need to have spelled out in this contract. Maintaining the property, such as mowing the lawn, raking leaves, cleaning out gutters, things of that nature, is financially very different from replacing a damaged roof or bringing the electric up to code. Whether you'll be responsible for everything or just mowing the lawn is a big difference and something that you definitely should know up front. You should have the property inspected, order an appraisal, and make sure that the property taxes are up to date before signing an agreement. So how about when the terms come to an end? How do you move forward? How to exercise your option to buy. For example, the seller may require you to provide advance notice in writing of your intent to buy. It's critical to know these things in advance. Read carefully and then keep a watch on your deadlines for moving forward. Remember that if you don't follow these deadlines, it can mean that you will have forfeited all that extra money that you put towards a down payment. Under some contracts, you might even forfeit the extra payments if you are late on just one rent payment. There are fine print items in these contracts that you should have an attorney review with you. An attorney should always be consulted to protect your rights. Lastly, remember that contracts and prices are negotiable. If you do not feel comfortable with a particular term or condition, try to negotiate it. A rent-to-own option for some can be the difference between buying now or having to wait a few more years to save up enough money to put down. While not a bad option, be diligent in understanding the terms, conditions, and property conditions so that you don't feel buyer's remorse later on or find that you just paid a substantial increased rent for a property that you really now don't even want. If you like my content, please click the like button and consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, I'm Joanna Bell, and this was the REWI channel, Real Women Investors.